Welcome everyone again to another episode of Chromatic Minds. This time we have the lovely Gabrielle. How are you, Gabrielle?
I'm quite well, thanks.
Perfect. Gabrielle, I want you to tell us a little bit about your synesthesia and how it meets you. When was the first time you realized you had this condition?
Okay, yeah, so I didn't realize that I had it and until after I realized that I experienced ASMR. So I realized that and I'm feeling nervous because I'm recording. No, but so I came across a YouTube video and it was mocking ASMR, and then they showed an example of it, and then I realized that I actually experienced it. And then I think over time I came across the term synesthesia online, and then when I read about it, I was like, oh, that's something that I have experienced. And I have experienced synesthesia since I was really young, but I just didn't really know it was happening. I just knew that there were certain words that felt, that weren't pleasant to hear or weren't pleasant to read, and I didn't really know why. I didn't really know how to describe it to other people. And sometimes when I would say that I didn't like certain words, people would think that I thought that they were offensive or something, but actually it wasn't the meaning of the words. It was just like the sound of the word had a bad like odor to it or something like that. And it's the same thing like with very specific music rhythms. They had the same sort of effect. And yeah, so I it took a little while for me to realize that that's what I was experiencing.
Well, you gave an amazing example, the ASMR videos. I think this is something that I want to say. It scratches the itch in my brain so good. I could hear those for hours. Some sounds are so soothing and delicious to me, and some of them are just like, oh, I mean, I cannot watch how they break glass. That is like I feel it like they're poking me with that.
Yeah, I absolutely I hate a lot of mouth sounds. Um I'm My top trigger for ASMR is unintelligible whispers, but as soon as I can hear like the spit moving around in their mouth or their tongue moving too much, then it's like it has the opposite effect.
Yeah, wow, I feel
Um,
the same way too. That's incredible you're saying this. Because sometimes
yeah,
in my case, I would even, tell people don't do that with your mouth. And so they would get offended because they don't hear it the same way as I. It provokes a really a non something not nice that I'm feeling. I don't even know how to explain it, but I'm starting to feel it. Ooh, please stop that.
yeah, my mom sucks her teeth. I think it's like a sort of nervous thing. And it feels like it sounds like nails on a chalkboard, and it sounds horrible. And yeah. uh but the yeah, so I have the one where it's like different words, whether I read them or I hear them, they have a taste or an odor to them, or they even a feeling.
Mm.
Like the word, I'll go with some pleasant ones. For example, like the word wash, it smells like soap and it feels like rushing bubbles, and it's a really nice one. So is the word scrub. Um, I think juicy is similar, and so is fresh. And then there are other ones that have like a really horrible odor to them, and they're pretty innocuous words. So they're ones that people use every day, and it doesn't matter like if you just use that word on its own. or if it's part of another word, it still has the same effect. So, like, there's the name of the seats in a church. That one smells terrible to me. It's like something rotting or something. And then if you have it in different words, like if you, I guess I could try and say like manipulate or something, that word also smells terrible. Um, and then there's stuff like the polite word, I guess, for shit. Like that one just smells like what it is. And when I've told people that I don't like those words, they're like, what's wrong with them? You know, they're not bad. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't think they're bad. Like they're not offensive. It's just the overall experience that I get when I read or hear them. And it's really hard to explain that to them.
Yeah, well, obviously, I experienced the same thing too. When you said wash, I was like, wow, I love this word because W to me, it's sort of pink, and S is purple, and it smells like fresh soap and bubbles. That's crazy that you just said that. I experienced the same thing when I think about whenever someone is saying, "Oh, did you wash the dishes?" And I'm like, no, I didn't, but that felt nice. Oh, I
Yeah,
I wonder if
yeah,
that made you articulate your language more so you would have this set of words that you like using.
yeah. And I do actually want to get a thesaurus so I can, think of more alternatives. Um, I always I kind of thought that that's one of the reasons why I would find it hard to be a parent because I'd be asking my child if they had a shit rather than the more polite word.
Yeah.
And so they'd be going around saying shit instead of other words because for some reason that one, it doesn't have a smell or a feel or anything to it. It's just a neutral sound. Whereas with other people, it's offensive. So
Yeah.
it makes it difficult.
Luckily, as parents, we can shape and craft our child the way that we want to. Sometimes there's names that I don't like, and I don't know how people can name their child after that. I was like, this name is horrible. Having to live in the house with a Derek, this is not something that I like.
I don't like the name Charlie.
Oh, I don't like the name Charlie either. That's crazy that you say it. Charlie
Yeah,
is a yellow bright
Charlie
name and
to
it
me.
tastes like lemon. Ugh.
Oh, yeah, Charlie to me tastes like a really, really spicy radish.
Yeah, it has this sour taste. I don't know why. That is beautiful. So you found a way to articulate your words. Do you find it if you when you read books? So sometimes certain authors, they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to like this book because they know how to choose the right words and to phrase their sentence.
Um, I don't because I'm not very good with like taking in words from a book and processing them. So like I can read and I know what words mean and that sort of thing, but when I try to read a book, it's like I can't really digest it very well. So I don't tend to read books, even though I really, really want to. So what I've done instead is I've tried using Audible so that I can try and take in words, or sometimes I try to find like I'll have to watch the movie adaptations or series about different books. Like right now, I'm watching The Handmaid's Tale, and that one's a bit difficult because it's very heavy, but that's the sort of stuff that I'm interested in. So,
For instance, I know now that there's a lot of apps like Speechify, and they take the text and they read it out for you. And this is something that could drive me mad. Sometimes I don't like specific voices, and I really go through the entire voices. Like they gave it in my subscription. I could have had like the free subscription, but I only had four voices as options, and I didn't like any one of them. So I bought a subscription to that app just so I could listen to a voice that I like the color and it tastes nice. So that it wouldn't be disgusting for me. I'm like, no, yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow, no way. They had
Yeah, yeah.
dog, and
I
I'm
have a podcast that I listen to at the moment that I really like, called Knowledge Fight. And I started listening to it like 3 years after it started. So there's, gosh, how many episodes now in total? There's hundreds now. And I'm trying to like catch up with it, but um it can be difficult sometimes to listen to that one because they do use pretty much the top sounds that smell really bad to me. Um and it is hard, like for example, with the kind of president of Russia with his name.
Mm.
And so I end up calling him Shit Tin. And it's not because I'm trying to be petty or because I don't like him as a person, even though both those things are very true. It's literally because his name just is awful.
I can totally understand you. Some presidents, some people, some names. I'm like, "Pff, yeah, I'm not hearing that again. I'll just invent a new name, and that's your new name. We're talking about the president. He'll never get to hear us, but sometimes I do it with people I interact with. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not saying your name. I'll just come up with a nicer name to you, and that's it. That's their name from now on. I will never say their true name. I wanted to ask you, um, you said when it first started, but experiencing these things is something so unique. When did it first shock you to realize that other people don't see the world this or taste or smell the world the same way? And not only that, they might even get offended by this.
Um, so I've always been quite different in a lot of different ways, and uh I experience things in a lot of different ways that other people experience them. So it kind of just came as part of the territory that they wouldn't understand what I was experiencing. Although it was sad and it was frustrating when I would say that I didn't like a certain word and people would be like, "Well, that's a bit silly or a bit strange." And they didn't really understand why I would feel that way. Because for a lot of people, again, it's like the meaning of the word that they might think that you don't like because they haven't really realized that it's not the meaning, it's the experience of the sound. So for a long time I would try and make myself kind of not feel that way about those words
Got it.
because I for a while didn't realize what it was I didn't like about them. And but when I came across the term synesthesia and I found out like why it was that I didn't like certain sounds and stuff, I kind of it came as part of like self-acceptance overall, and just kind of decided to embrace it, really just the same as ASMR type stuff.
I
Because I
think
think with ASMR as well, it's like if you don't experience it, I can totally understand why people would think it's strange or it's not very nice. But when you do experience it, it is really nice.
ASMR videos are amazing. I could watch them literally for hours. It calms me down. It gives me such thrill. And sometimes I send reels and those little shorts to my friend. They're like, "How can you watch this? It's so annoying." And I'm like, "Why don't you feel good? How come it doesn't calm you down?" I wanted to say something that for me too, I always knew that I saw the world in a different way. But once I realized that this condition has a name and there's more people like me, and it's an actual scientific thing, that made me feel super confident about my synesthesia. It made me want to explore it even more and focus on it. And this is why I am doing this chromatic mind. There's so many of us out there. I don't think it's just 2 to 4%. It's many, many more people just walking around experiencing the world in such a beautiful way, because I am positive that when you write, if you write a letter to someone or a greeting, you choose the best words. You choose the
I
nicest
am,
words.
yeah, I am very focused on words and what they sound like and where they come from. And that is something that surprises me that people don't think about. So there'll be a place name, and I'll think it sounds really funny because there are loads of funny sounding names in Britain. And people do think about them, but other times it doesn't seem like they really have thought about it very much. Like the word do is one that's a bit of a middle ground for me. Like it smells like cheese that's gone off, but then it's also not intolerable. So it's unpleasant but not intolerable. And there's a lot of other kind of everyday words and stuff that people don't really consider at all. Um and I'm kind of like, how do you not think about that? Like it's something that happens every single day. How do you not kind of question it or consider it?
Yeah. For instance, I have chromesthesia, so I see words, the alphabet in colors. So a lot of people don't know that for me, the word blue would appear as green. So I always thought about it. Who decided that blue is blue?
Hmm.
Because I don't see it as blue. But we're using to describe it as blue. And it always, when someone say, yeah, blue shade. So in my head, I would see the word blue popping, but it's in green. I'm like, remember that it's blue, the normal type of blue, not the one that's in your head.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I wanted to ask you another thing. Um, Have you ever wondered why we our brain does what it does? And probably this is what led you to start, research on your own. This is something that is common to all the synesthetes that I've interviewed so far. They have this self-drive to just, to know things that they are all highly intelligent, including you. They're always like, yeah, I'm gonna be my own therapist and I'm gonna do my own research because there is no possible way that I would go and seek professional advice when I have this condition. Sometimes, you have to work with someone and you're starting to feeling nauseated when the boss is talking to you. And it's not something you could take a pill and calm down. It's just the sound of their voice, it's the words that they're using. Um, have you ever thought about why my brain is doing this and what is the purpose of this?
Yes. Yes. I had to do that with my mental health problems. And I think if I remember correctly, it was when I was looking up ASMR and I was trying to I was researching that. And then it said that it had sort of correlations to synesthesia. And I went, oh, what's that? And then I clicked on the little link on the Wikipedia page. And then I read about that. And that's kind of where I came across it. Uh, and yes, I do research all the time on different things to try and see what goes on with it. Like when I was researching autism, for example, and I learned about the difficulty in giving eye contact and things, I realized that part of my masking is to give people eye contact constantly. And then I kind of thought, well, you know what? If it's hard for me to give eye contact, then I won't do it. I'll just let people know that that's how I function. And then I kept hearing more people talk about the lack of eye contact thing, and they were saying, well, if I give someone eye contact, I can't actually process what they're saying. And then I thought, oh yeah, that actually is why,
Yeah.
so if I'm giving someone eye contact, I can't really hear or take in what they're saying. But if I look away, then I can take in what they're saying.
Yeah, wow.
So
So happy you said it. This is something that Go on. I'll say something about this because I'm so
Yeah, so like neurotypical people have the opposite thing. So they think if you're not giving them eye contact, you're not listening to them.
yeah.
So they get offended. They're like, "Why aren't you listening to me? Look at me." And you're like, "But I am."
Wow, as a this is insane that you're saying this. I think along the way in the synesthete life, we would get accused of either having ADHD or ADD or what, and that's not it. I never knew to explain why when someone is talking to me, I'm not looking at them. I'm looking everywhere. I'm looking this, I'm doing that. And people don't know that they're this whole vivid world just flying around them, geometric shapes coming from their mouth right towards me. When I was a child, it was so vivid. It was like Lucy in the skies with Diamond. I was just, in my LSD dream, just
Mhm.
looking around. But I was focused. And yes, I was also sent to be diagnosed for ADHD because what they said about me, the reason that they sent me to be diagnosed is that it's like she's not paying attention, she's disconnected, but when she need to answer the question, she's doing it perfectly. So what's going on here? Obviously, they did not confirm that I have ADHD. I do not have ADHD. But I always tell people, ever since I realized this condition has a name, I'm like, listen, I'm not going to focus on your face. I have synesthesia and your voice triggers colors and shapes around you. So I'm looking at it and not just your voice, the world around me. It could be the glass that is sitting right here with water and I hear it. It could be the birds chirping outside. It could be the road. I'm so distracted with everything. But you said something amazing. You said that giving that eye contact was a part of your masking. And I think this is something that us synesthetes learn how to do on a daily basis. We mask our synesthesia and we pretend to be normal.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if I hear someone say their name and it has a bad smelling sound in it, I'm not gonna go, even though that's how I feel, because I don't want them to be offended. If I said my name and someone went, I wouldn't to the I wouldn't be sure if it was because they didn't like my name or if it was because of something different. Like for example, like if it was something personal or if it wasn't. And so I don't want to offend people. And there are like, for example, I feel bad to say that like the French language, it doesn't sound very good to me. But if I was talking to someone or if I was around people who were speaking French, I wouldn't allow like my responses to come through because it's not the French people, it's not the French culture, it's nothing about that. It is literally just the sounds and the way they're being formed that triggers that.
It's just like music.
Um yeah.
It's when people talk, we're talking and you understand what I'm saying, but it's music at the end of the day, and I don't like
Mhm.
the sound. I am going to be honest with you. One of the reasons that I have not traveled to France till now is because I cannot stand their language. They talk and when they speak, it's coming from here. It's very nasally, and I don't like nasal sounds, and I don't like nasal voices.
Yeah, yeah. So that's one thing like I try and hide that from because I don't want to upset or offend anyone because it really isn't personal. It's really not something that can be helped by anyone. So they can't just be like, "All right, I'll just switch off my accent, I'll switch off the way that I talk," because that's just not how it works.
Yeah, so
And
many so many syndromes that we as synesthetes carry could be equivalent to having being on the spectrum
Mhm.
as having autism or being neurodivergent. But I think the main difference is that we mask it and at specific levels on the spectrum, they cannot mask it. They just like play straightforward. And we integrate within this society, masking our ability this way. It's insane.
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
I'm gonna ask you again if you thought to yourself, what's the purpose of this all? Because with my synesthesia, I sometimes think that the purpose of having chromesthesia or um, seeing sound and knowing how to translate it into playing music is something that I can do to soothe myself. Is there some sort of ritual that you're doing to soothe yourself when the world is overload?
Um, I think I could do more with it, really. But it does make cleaning really pleasant because I'll be doing the dishes and I'll have the word wash go around in my head a lot, or I'll have the word scrub, and it makes it really nice. And on that note, I also really like cleaning videos on YouTube.
I love it.
Um,
Everything is neat. Wow, I think maybe you have also like the visual space synesthesia. I know I often see people saying that their child is fixing his toys in a straight line, so he must have autism. And I'm like, what? I do that. I cannot look at something if it's not symmetrical. But in my head, it's like I see the angles. So I don't know why, but it's really I do the same thing. I like to see how people clean and organize their house. It's like, oh, I could do this. This would be
yeah,
do that. It gives me so much, peace of mind knowing that everything is neat and tidy this way. But my story with smelling things is a bit different. Um, I really love to smell things. Even if something is disgusting, I want to focus on that scent so I can pick up on what is grossing me out inside the scent pyramid of that, I don't know, particular note. Do you experience that too?
I don't. Um, I generally just don't like smells. I'm not really a fan of olfactory. Like if I could just delete one kind of uh sensual thing, it would be that. Although I appreciate that it's also very, very useful. You need it to like help keep yourself healthy and well and stuff, but yeah, even if I mean just like the word smell doesn't have a good scent to it. If someone says like, well, what does it smell like? I don't actually know. It just isn't nice. So even if it's a nice one, like I really, really like cinnamon and I like mint and I like lemon and stuff like that. I just I don't I don't like the whole kind of scent thing. Um uh
What do you
I know that there are a lot of things though that I want to really get into and really like delve into and understand it really, really well. It
Are there any specific fragrances that you like or you avoid?
um I can't stand perfume most of the time, but I do really like uh hmm, I really like um usually detergents,
Mm.
although it depends on the detergent as well, because if there's I I like walking into a room and realizing that it's been cleaned, but if for example like there's too much bleach being used or something, then I don't like that. But a little bit of bleach is okay. Um and I like soap, and I forget the name of it, but there's like this generic kind of so the fragrance that goes into soap that's like before they give any other scent to it. And I don't know if they have it in Israel, but here they have it as I think cleaners called fresh linen or something.
Yeah.
And that one is really, really nice to me. And if they made a perfume that was just that, then I would wear it. But yeah, I tend to like citrusy scents and minty ones and cinnamony ones, and those are like my top. I don't really like vanilla very much.
Mm.
I don't really like, I mean, fruity ones are okay, but I don't tend to like the fruity ones that they put into candles and stuff.
I really love fresh scents too, and I really love vanilla scents. It's for me, fragrances is like, wow, it's like a candy shop because I really like smelling uh all types of scents out there, detecting the notes, and I buy specific perfumes that smell the dominant, the base note would be something that a note that I'm most relating to. Mainly that would be vanilla or cinnamon. I really love cinnamon. There's something very spicy to cinnamon. Funny enough, the word cinnamon is very yellow and also orange. But it doesn't smell like cinnamon. It smells like something else. It kind of smells like a lemon peel to me. The word
Yeah,
cinnamon.
yeah.
That's
Yeah, I imagine it's not very pleasant to you.
yeah, it's not very pleasant to me. You know, um, other than taking our synesthesia and embracing it, synesthesia is being defined as a neurological disorder that those who have it are not suffering from it. The other way around, they're quite gifted when it comes when they have synesthesia. So the question is that do you consider having this condition as a blessing or a curse?
I think it's pretty cool, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I said that like a lot of really common words smell really bad to me. Like someone could just be talking about the amount of people in a location or something, and they're like, oh yeah, the population or something. And I'm like, oh, that's awful. But I still don't find it debilitating. I don't find it to be unpleasant or anything to experience. I think it's a really cool thing to have. So I think the word disorder is a bit, it's not a good word to use.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's something that needs treatment. I mean, even for me, like where certain words basically just kind of they have the aroma of like a lot of rotting things and like rotting rubbish and stuff. Even then, it still wouldn't, it isn't really a debilitating thing to me.
It's not.
It's, yeah, it's a bit like, sometimes if people use words that don't smell good to me, it's sort of like they farted through their mouth, but even like toots don't tend to last very long. I don't
That's
really
so
know
true.
how to put it, but yeah.
I think that if there's something that is common to every synesthete that I've met so far is that is when we say that we don't like something, it's like earlier you said you don't like the word smell at all, and I don't know if you noticed, but I'm not saying it anymore. I would say scent, I would say fragrance, I would say perfume. I'm not using that word anymore because I can feel you, and I'm probably one of the only rare people in the world that would understand exactly what it means to talk and it sounds and it smells like farts. So
I the other thing is like different words that are unpleasant, they don't have the same odor to them. I haven't quite figured out what all the different ones have. So like I think the word smell is kind of like um fish that isn't fresh, possibly. I think that's what that one smells like. And then like bluesy beets, they kind of smell like a fart. And then stuff like the uh the church seat type of words, they smell kind of more like decay and rot. So yeah, they all have different ones, but yes, absolutely. I'm like that too. If I know someone doesn't like something, I'm gonna try and not put it into their vicinity.
yeah. I think there's like a joint understanding, a non-verbal communication between synesthetes that We understand each other triggers very, very well. So we do not trigger each other. And I think it's a beautiful form of communication, which we lose when we're connecting with people that are not synesthetes. So people don't even care about what they sound like. You know, when one time I got asked by someone, and and I told him that his voice was orange, and it was in a triangle shapes. Like I saw triangles when that person was talking. He was interested in synesthesia, and he's like, oh, what do I sound like? And then he thought about it, and then he said something very smart that I never thought about. And then he said, how can I make my voice more round? He didn't like the fact that I said that his voice was triangular, because the triangle shape is sharp. And he's like, how can I make my voice more round? And I'm like, wow, that's a good question. I don't know how you can make your voice more round. And then I was like, wait, I do know, because I am talking in round, in a round pattern, because I don't want to just talk like this to people. This is very sharp. So I think that there's really something about us that is very, very, very considerative towards other people socially, which would totally, detach us from being on the spectrum. Because when you are on the spectrum, it's difficult for you to make this connectivity, thinking like, am I offending people? Because we might offend people by telling them that they sound or smell this way, but we will never say that to them. We will just keep it to ourselves. We'll mask it, like you just said. I wonder if you could describe to me how would the current world would look better if only synesthetes were in it, or what would the perfect world for a synesthete would look like?
I think in some ways, synesthetes would make the world more comfortable for neurodivergent people, in the sense that because I know that autistic people have similar kind of things going on, but for them it's much more debilitating. Like certain sounds can make like it unbearable to be in certain locations, or certain lights and stuff can have that sort of effect. But if like a synesthete was around and they were trying to like help with construction of an area, and they didn't like certain sounds, or they didn't like a certain color, they would just design it out of the area, and so that it would make it more comfortable for people. And then that way, if you come by a fluorescent light or something, and you're working to like design this thing, or if you're not, you can still contact the people that are, and you can be like, I can't stand these lights, man. I gotta go. And they'd be like, yeah, absolutely. Or if you said like, you didn't like the shape of like a certain sign or something because it felt a certain way, then that could be changed. So I think in a lot of ways it'd be very interesting, and it would also allow for more understanding of people, and it would make much more effective designs, I would say, to things.
Wow, you gave like a whole perspective of looking at a synesthete world. I never thought about it this way. Yes, I think the buildings would look in a much more pleasant way. Everything would be more symmetrical. It wouldn't even necessarily, sometimes when people, I don't know, they want to build a shopping center, that they cut down a whole forest. So no, we could build with nature. We don't have to
Yeah.
nature. It's like we can build around it. There's so many other shapes. And there's another very shrewd thing that you said, is that it's the adaptivity. Synesthetes adapt to situations very, very quick. If you don't like it, then we don't need to do that. We can really adapt to new situations in a fast way, and correlate with each other. It really emphasis for me that our communication is not just linguistic, it's from here and from here. It's something
Hmm.
I've most synesthetes that I've spoken to really cared about how their how other people feel or experience the world. So each one of them took control about what they could, whether it's the convenience in my own house or working with me, talking to me, the words that I would use towards you. We try to make it as nice as possible. I think the experience on Earth is really beautiful because this planet is amazing. But sometimes as a society, we don't understand that. We lose touch with either nature and then with ourselves, and it's not nice. I see a lot of people, that question when that person asked me, how can I make my voice become more round? He's right. At the end of the day, like the tonality and the cut in his voice was not pleasant. That's why I saw triangles. But not many people ask that. I not many people care about what they sound like or what's coming out of their mouth.
Yeah, and I think as someone who has been living in England for my whole life, basically, like I lived in the States for the first half of my life, and then I've been living in England for the other half. I've been wanting my accent to change and to be more about what's around me and things. And I think that's in part because non-synesthete things, like I want to be able to feel like I belong, and I want other people to treat me like I belong here. And in England, they constantly point out like your accent and the way that you talk and stuff. And I think especially because I was born in the States and I have my accent, they're constantly pointing that out because I think um getting kind of political, but I think Britain kind of views America as its little sibling. So it's like, ha ha, and it's always poking at it. And I wanted my accent to change, but I haven't been able to kind of get that to happen. So whilst I do understand that like certain things don't sound nice or they don't feel nice necessarily, you can't always get them to change something like that. But the point still stands, like what you're saying. You can adapt to things and it's nice.
Exactly. And they think that the sense of feeling like we don't belong is something that any synesthete would say. It doesn't matter where you're from or what culture or what gender or what religion you are. It's like you don't belong here. And trying to define everything and trying to this one should be this way and this one no, it doesn't work this way for us. We're very adaptive. We feel, we resonate with feeling, with emotion, with being empathic towards each other. So it's not like everything has to be in its specific box. There's not, I don't think I've ever encountered a synesthete that had this neatness and specific order that they work with, because our mind is a cluster. It's crazy in here. The
Yeah.
way we just cope with being overload, sensory overload. You just gotta flow with it. And that's when you start, even if you don't want to, you would start becoming more zen, even designing your house in a zen way, just so the light could flow from the window and then the air would be, this is something that we would feel connected with, which is
Yeah, definitely.
the entire concept of I've spoken about this on the podcast also before. uh Taoism philosophy, it's like the flow. Let things happen, be water, be adaptive, don't be stubborn or rigid, as you said that society might be. If there's something that I don't like a lot about Britain, is that it's the weather, probably, because when it's raining a lot, it's like nature is asleep. Because I don't hear the bees and the flowers come to life. Depends which. Because here in Israel, we have a really strong sun, but it's healthy sun. It's like the type of rays that it's actually recommended to sit out in the sun for 40 or 30 minutes a day just to absorb some vitamin D. Contrary, like in Australia, you cannot do this. because the rays of the sun there are quite dangerous for human skin. But in Israel, so the nature is so loud here. So just imagine how chaotic it can be. The sun is loud in here too. But I would look for somewhere in the middle. So not Israel and not the UK, because in the UK it's really it's a lacking of sun that is prominent there. It's like this, it's like it's a certain frequency that you miss.
Hmm.
And the clouds, a lot of clouds, they block it. I don't like cloudy days at all. I like when the skies are clear. But what I like the most about rain is how it smells when it hits the ground. And mud. I really love the smell of mud, scent of grass, of wet grass. I really, really love it. And this is something that that's the minute you land in Heathrow or Luton, whatever. That's what you smell. The concrete that is soaked with the wetness and water. And I was like, oh, I love it. I really love it.
Yeah, I definitely am not a fan of of London. I like the stuff that's there, but I don't like the way in which you have to kind of go about to access said things.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think for me, I don't like being in the southeast of England because for me, there's a lot of sun, but like even there's like rain as well, and there's cloudiness, but it's like kind of annoying, like the way that the rays come through. It's either too brief of a time or it's too long of a time.
Yeah.
So I burn quite easily, and it's just too much one way or the other, or it constantly changes. And then there's lots of like shadowy light that comes through, and then that's really headache inducing. So I kind of like it to be more decisive in the sense that it's either like properly gray and rainy and wet, or it's more bright, but it's not like burning through your skin or your eyes bright.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it and also I like it when it's either cold or it's warm. So it's not like chucking it down with rain, but it's still 18 degrees outside because I get warm very easily. And if it's raining, but it's also 18 degrees and it's far too warm for me to wear a coat, and then I get really wet.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's not a great combo.
Wow, this is the one of the most annoying sensation is that having a wet cloth on your skin. How horrible is that?
Yeah, yeah. So I preferred if it was like for me, like if it was -1 and it was really, really raining, because then I could have a coat on and I'd be kept dry and I'd be comfortable in it. And I'd also be able to protect myself from the rain.
Yeah. This is something that makes me want to ask you, how do you feel in general about being inside water or even like washing your face or hands or taking a shower? I must admit that it's disgusting. I really don't like the sensation of how water feel on my face and how they feel when I shower. Then, and of course, being like a lot of people are like, oh, let's go to the beach, let's go to the pool. It's so much fun, and they can stay the whole day in there. I'm like, no.
Yeah, I was born in Washington State, and until I moved to England, I spent a lot of time being very soaked and stuff. So I think it's kind of part of, I don't know if I'd say it's part of my blood, but it's like it's part of my the only part of the American identity that I have, really, because I've never really felt American. But um being wet constantly and stuff is kind of nostalgic to me.
Hmm.
So it's the opposite to you, really. I When I went up to Manchester and it was cloudy and wet and things and it was dark, I thought, oh gosh, this reminds me of childhood.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, the memories that we had as children are so vivid. Also, when we grow with them. And this is probably when our whole sensory world is built up around synesthesia. It's those memories. I wanted to ask you something. During our alertness as we are awake, we can somehow control what's goes on around us. We choose the right people to interact with. I specifically, music is so important to me that I would say 95% of what I listen to is classical music. And people don't even understand how exciting it is for me sensory. And it was like my deal breaker when I meet people. Of course, when I meet a partner, that they would enjoy classical music, because if they don't enjoy classical music, I'm not going to be with them. Um, and this is our sense of control in our daily life. But what happens when you have a nightmare when you go to sleep, or how do you experience sleep? Because imagine seeing something in your dream that is so disturbing. To me, it could be also, sometimes I'd go to sleep and then there's annoying music stuck in my head, and that's it. I am awake during my sleep, and that music is slowly, eating my brain. How do you experience sleep?
Oh gosh, sometimes when I'm asleep, it's quite vivid, and I forget that like, I know that people tend to forget that they're asleep when they're having dreams, but sometimes I think something is genuinely happening, and then I'll wake up, and then I'll have to like call up my mom and be like, did I actually say that to you? And then I'll remember that it was just a dream. I think I did have one I did have one kind of nightmarish sort of dream where I found a bunch of bugs in a bed, and my mom was like blaming me for it. And then when I woke up, I kind of realized that it didn't happen because I wasn't in the same place and that sort of thing. But I did talk to her about it on the phone. I was like, yeah, like I found all these beds. I mean, I found all these bugs in a bed, and you were like telling me it was all my fault and stuff. And um, it was quite a dramatic kind of argument we were having in the dream. And I was saying, like, I don't know why I was having that dream because none of that's really true.
Yeah, I think sometimes, well, not sometimes, but there's a research, and I'll make sure that I'll upload it to the Chromatic Minds page. There's a research, I don't know which university or which group did it, but they checked synesthetes when it comes to sleeping, and they saw that 80% of those synesthetes reported that they had lucid dreams. So our consciousness is awake when we're sleeping, and this would make our dreams so vivid. Sometimes I dream that I don't dream, but I feel like I am up and I want to get up and start dressing up and prepare myself. When I was younger, it was for school, and now it's for work. And then I just end up doing all this, and then I realize, wait, I wasn't even awake. Like, I did that all dream. I need to go back to my body, sleep, and wake up again. And the sensation that you just described with spiders and bugs, this is what freaks me out the most. And when I have a nightmare, that's what it involves, because I cannot stand, I have no issues with bugs or spiders. Like, I'm not scared of them if I see them away. It's just that they won't walk on me, because every tiny feeling, even if it's a hair, if one of my hair is like here, it would drive me mad. I cannot experience it. This would be probably one of my worst nightmares, also to experience that.
Yeah, there's certain sensations I don't like on my skin either. Um, yeah, and it kind of goes back to the ASMR thing. It's like certain sounds just feel really irritating in my ears, and then certain uh like if the ASMR artist is trying to evoke certain feelings, you can feel them and it's like, don't touch me like that.
Exactly. It feels exactly like that. I think in my most vivid nightmares that I know I am sleeping and I'm shouting, wake up, we need to wake up now. It's
Yeah.
when it's when I feel something is crawling on me and I'm like, no, this is not real. It's a dream. Wake up now.
Or
Which
when you're trying to run and your legs just won't move.
yeah. But
Yeah.
it's like wake up, we need to stop this. Go back to real life. Oh, this is hilarious. So I think this is things that you cannot probably see a professional that would have it properly diagnosed. I mean, when someone would experience um sleep disorder and it would tell the doctor like, oh, I cannot fall asleep because I only have lucid dreams. I'm not getting my full proper sleep. I don't think there's such a thing as full and proper sleep. We all experience our consciousness and subconsciousness and being asleep differently than others. The same way that I experience my awakeness, is different than other people. No one can feel the sensory world that your brain is allowing you. So of course our sleep would not be the same. But this is why I think we need to put a little bit of focus on synesthetes, maybe creating like a network with each other of sharing these experiences with one another, because we're truly the only individuals in the world that could relate and understand each other. And it makes me, like I said, with each episode, I feel less unique because there's so many other people out there like me that I tell myself,
Yeah.
wow, where have you been all my life? I went through such a horrible teen period. And if I had other synesthetes that I could talk to or relate to, because well, in my case also my family are synesthetes, so I was lucky to have that safety, that safety notion, that safe notion that I had when I talked to my family. Is there anyone from your family that might experience synesthesia the same way?
I don't think that there are people in my family who experience it the way that I do, but my mom might have a thing with touch and scent, or she might have a thing with uh 'cause she is very concerned about keeping things clean and stuff like that, and she calls it like OCD.
Mhm.
But so she might have something in relation to scent and the feel of things and the way that things are ordered that might have something to do with synesthesia, but I'm not sure. My dad and I never really spoke about it. I feel like if I tried to tell him something, he probably would have been very dismissive about it. And I haven't asked my other siblings. Um, so I don't know. Possibly.
This is something that it's amazing. Even within the family, not many of us talk about it because you think it's either they're experiencing the world the same as I, so you don't discuss it, um, or they're not, and it's okay to just not experience it the same way. Um, Sometimes when you tell people, I don't know, think of it, not even think, but when you tell people the word an apple, some people would just, hear it, won't see anything in their head, but synesthetes would see a specific apple in a specific shape with a specific taste, and would smell an apple. They could even not smell an apple. They could smell an apricot instead of an apple. But I think the more that your synesthesia is vivid and strong, the more that you would be driven to 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 find out if that's how other people see it. First, when I realized that other people don't see an apple when you tell them an apple. And I was thought to myself, how is that even possible? You gotta see an apple when someone is giving you an association, you gotta see it. but not many people experience it the same way. This is why I think being diagnosed, not by professional, obviously that's not possible, but self-diagnosis is super crucial, that we talk about this and we promote ourselves into understanding the condition that we have. I don't know if it helps that we have this name, synesthesia. If we wouldn't have this name, then I would just say that we're unique individuals. It's like really having magical powers, being able to choose the right words. There's a lot of authors and writers out there that had synesthesia and had changed the world, like Vladimir Nabokov, and a lot of artists, a lot of mathematicians, a lot of musicians. So I think it is a superpower. There's something that our brain want us to explore, and it's given us these tools. Your brain really wants you to experience the world this way and see what would be your conclusion after a long period of time.
Yeah. And what I think is interesting about how my brain works is that, like you were saying about the word apple, if you give me one word, then there's a lot that happens, like in my mind. But if I'm listening to a book with lots of descriptions, or if I'm reading a book with lots of descriptions, it's like my brain struggles to form an image of what you're describing. So if you just say crumble, then stuff will pop into my mind and stuff. But if you describe a house where said crumble was made, then I find it harder to take in what you're trying to say. Or if you even describe the house and then you describe like the feeling in the house and the emotions and stuff, then I find it hard to digest that.
Wow, that is so
So
true.
yeah. So
I,
I don't do great when people give me a list of directions, for example. Like they
because
tell me
people,
a list of things to do.
they don't know how to give the right direction, obviously. That's
But
something.
like, no, they'll give me a list of something to do, and then it's like I can only remember like the first bit and then maybe the last bit. But if you tell me what to do one bit at a time, then I can follow what you're saying. So yeah, that's another issue I have with going to cities like London. Like you'll go to the underground and, oh, how do you get to this place? And they'll be like, you go here and then you take this many places, this many stops, and then you have to go to this like platform, and then you have to take it off of this line. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. I totally understand you. I think there's also something that is remarkable about it's very different about our brain. Our brain is not thinking in right or left terms. It's basically, it doesn't exist for us. It's just one unit that I ask people, is it like you take this and you turn left? And in my head, I'm like, I turn, but I could be turning right, and I wouldn't even notice it. And what you said about crumble and the house, they're making crumbles in the house, wow, I could totally relate to it. Sometimes when people don't know how to use semantics, use words and phrase them the right way, I will not understand what they want from me. I'm gonna have to ask them to repeat it. So I would try to understand, because my brain, I know that it's going to sound weird what I say, but our brain is very simple. At the end of the day, it's thinking like apple, red, blue. It's like it's practically taking out folders. It's like a computer. If you don't
Yeah.
describe to the AI, today we have a lot of AI generators like ChatGPT, Leonardo, and all sort of other AI generators. If you don't know how to use your words properly in what you want to get, then the AI would just give you weird creations, something very ludicrous, something crazy. And I think it's the same way that our brain works. If you don't tell me what to do or how to do it precisely, my brain is not gonna think about what you said. Because when you said
Yeah.
crumble, I thought about, crumble pie, and I just literally saw the crumbles in the pie. And then you said someone is making crumble in the house. And what I saw is that I saw that pie on a table inside a house in the kitchen. And I was like, but I don't see the person that's doing them. And then I was like, what did they want to say? But the image of pie in my head is now the crumbles on the specifically being sprinkled on a fresh crumble pie is now engraved in my head, so I could easily go lost. I have no idea sometimes if I've turned left or right, where to go, what to do. I really need people to be precise. And you know what's the most annoying hearing? People telling you, you're so intelligent. How can you not figure out something this simple? Because we are intelligent, but no, my brain is working patterns and structure.
Yeah, at school, I started doing pretty poorly just because I can't get homework done. So, like, if I go to school and I focus on a couple of topics in a day, I'll delve into them really deeply and I'll put lots of energy and work into them. But then if you say, okay, can you take this work home and do it overnight or do it like in a week or something, write an essay in a month. Once I get home, my brain will then go, okay, I'm no longer in the place where I was working, so now it's time to relax. And then no matter what I do to prod my brain to like get that work done, it's not doing it. And then if if in my mind I'm having a break, like for example, it's the holidays, and I know that I can't focus on my work at home, and I think, okay, I'll go to like the library or something to do it. My brain then goes, but it's the holidays. This is the time to relax. And so then it's even harder to like get myself to get up and leave the place and go do the thing. But if someone said, no, it's not the holidays until like this essay is done. And then once that's done, then it is the holidays. And suddenly my brain's like, oh, okay, let's go do the essay then.
Yeah, well, going through high school and just, being in that system. It's a system. It's not something that you would encounter anywhere else. And it's like this throughout the whole Western world, It's a system, and if you don't adjust to it, you're losing it. And I would do the same way. I'd get home. I'm not doing my homework here because home is not a place where I do it. And sometimes I'm gonna even say something that would be I'm only realizing now, I think it's like it has a lot to do with the time and space, because in our head, time exists like it's an Outlook calendar. I see the words flying here, the days. I have like, cubics if I want to add a task and I see it. I have a lot of TVs in my house, almost like in every room, because when it's something in my family. If there's any other synesthete that experienced this, please let me know. Uh, Dealing with synesthesia when it's dark is quite a traumatic experience when you have hearing and sound, seeing and sound synesthesia. I don't think I don't think no one in my family copes with it pretty well. This is why the television is always on, even during night, even during sleep, because dealing with the geometric shapes that fly towards you, the absence of light and the more dark it is would just enhance the synesthete world, and that could be pretty distracting when you want to go to sleep. But even in my house, I have a TV in my living room and I have a TV in my bedroom. And for some reason, the TV in the bedroom is only for sitcoms. I'm not gonna watch a movie if I'm not sitting on a sofa. I have no idea why. And then when I sit in the living room and I'm like, okay, I want to watch a movie now, and other people would be like, yeah, but I'm watching this show. No, you will stop and you'll go to the room to watch the show. Because I want to watch the movie, and watching movies is here. I have no idea why. It's like, and my brain is super excited about this. Like, yay, we're organized. It's like our brain is always trying to achieve perfection that doesn't exist for anyone. But they would just reorganize and order, put things into, I think, a funny order that doesn't exist. And you know what? I would never, if a guest of mine would want to do things differently, then I'll be like, yeah, let's do whatever you want. But with me, with myself, I'm like, we need the routine. We need to be specific. This goes here, this goes there. Don't do that.
Yeah.
And it's not like I don't I think people with OCD, which is a obsessive compulsive disorder, if you take away their order, then they become anxious and anxiety is involved with it. For me, I don't feel anxious. It's not an anxiety. It's just the way that it's more perfect. It feels nicer. It feels nicer. Feels
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it's taking the experience of watching a movie in my house, but to the maximum. I'm in the living room. There's a big screen TV. My legs are up. I'm gonna make me some popcorn, and I'm in love with the idea because it's like I think like our brain is an AI generator. It's like create the perfect movie night at home. This is what it would show you. It wouldn't show you a picture of you in the bathroom looking at a screen or at the toilet or in the bedroom. It would show you yourself in the living room and show you an image. And this is how my mind works. It shows me an image. I'm like, okay, I need to get popcorn. I need to do this. I'm gonna set the living room all nice, dim the light, keep just one little light. It's like it's a whole mission now. And I'm just having a night with a night of movies with myself. And that is, I really love that you mentioned it because I never thought about it. And now I like it. It makes so much sense. It makes so much sense.
Yeah, that's part of how I kind of research stuff and I look into it because I really wanted to learn. I really wanted to be educated and I wanted to do well at school, but I couldn't figure out why I was struggling so much to get stuff done. And it wasn't until I was able to separate myself from that and like go to a different place, albeit a different country, but like go to a different place and then start over again, that I was actually able to start analyzing why is it that I was struggling to get homework done? Why is it that I was struggling to um like study and do different things like that? And over time I kind of pieced it together and then I realized that like this is the way that I function better. And it isn't like how they expect like your teachers and stuff expect you to, and it isn't the way that it's put down in stone how you're meant to do school. But tough, that's just how I work. But the thing is if you, like I was mentioning, like if you give me a topic to work on and I may like I'm able to just work on it the way I would tend to, then I actually go through much more of it than what they would expect you to anyways, like within, the typical week or something. And then if I'm able to process it properly, then I can get much more of it done much quicker.
Yes.
But if you want me to do like homework and stuff like that, I just can't do it. I can like try and force myself to do it, but why?
Yeah, everything like this just becomes a project and you really want to do good at it. And I think it's completely useless. I think that, especially with the education system, they really need to understand that as the years go, our attention span and capacity just lowers itself. Wouldn't it be wonderful if they could explain simple things and progressive things and even difficult things, but in a short way? I don't think that staying in a class for 45 minutes should be this tiring, especially for us synesthetes. We're so overwhelmed with everyone in the class. For me, it was a nightmare sitting in a class with a bunch of people. Some of them were chewing loud, other was breathing funny. I don't even need, and it's not that I don't like people. I like people that are nice and and feel nice to interact with. I was suffering with mathematics because of synesthesia. Wow. Every number had a different color, and I would have to sit down and do exams and think to myself, whenever I look at a big number, the color changes to be painted just by one digit. So 6,000 would be a purple, 3,000 would be green. But if I say a 350, then 5 paints the whole number to blue. When I was a teenager, that was difficult. I did not do good at math at all. But today, after I learned that I had synesthesia and I learned how to teach myself how to cope with it, it was after I graduated, but and now it's much more easier for me to approach math the best way. But back then, I wish someone would tell me, like, you have synesthesia and there's a way to deal with it, but you wouldn't know what to do now. And this is not even something that I could just explain to one of my teachers. Like, I'm not good at this, even though we have briefed this specific equation before the class. The numbers and the colors are confusing me. They're going to look at you and look at you as if you're insane. As a child, when I was a little girl, I immediately told my teachers how I saw the world in a synesthete way. I didn't know it was synesthesia, but they looked at me as if I was, inventing it or crazy. The validation from society, especially in a young age and in your teen years, it has an impact on you. The stuff like this you would just keep to yourself. You would not even
Absolutely.
that there's a way to do it, someone else to consult, or maybe I will go online. And you think like, yeah, this is high school and I'm not doing well because I'm a teenager and I don't have time for this. No, it was synesthesia. Then again, synesthesia really helped me when it was with learning languages, but with math, it was just the worst. Gabrielle, thank you. Thank you so much for being on this episode with me and sharing your life with me. Um, until next time, this was Chromatic Minds.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.